Hello and welcome to this bite-sized webinar, which dives deeper into the European markets by highlighting their proximity and importance to Scotland's visitor economy. The recently released 2024 International Passenger Survey figures, also referred to as IPS numbers, are once again showing that Scotland is top performing out of all the UK nations. Inbound visits to Scotland for 2024 reached a new record and showed the strongest growth compared to 2019 and 2023 out of the rest of the UK. Overall, there were 4.38 million inbound visits to Scotland in 2024, surpassing both pre-COVID levels by 27% and 2023 levels by 10%. Q3 and Q4 visits were 55% of the full year 2024 visits, with Q4 having attracted many more international visitors than previously. Domestic tourism remains important for Scotland, but as with all business planning, we would recommend you don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, but rather attract a mix of markets to your doors to spread your risk. But let's jump right into the European markets, which are, of course, our closest neighbours. The 2024 figures clearly show the importance of the European visitors into Scotland, with 3 in 5 international visitors coming from those markets. The share of European visitors has slightly increased by 1 percentage point, and spend has gone up from 39% in 2023 to 42% over the past year. International visits and nights were mostly driven by the European market, that was 17%, followed by North America with 7%, and rest of the world with 5%. However, spend generated by North American visitors was close to European proportions, while rest of the world was responsible for 10%. Looking at the top 5 international markets, we are seeing Europe strongly represented from both a visitation and spend level. We know these EU markets have strong connectivity links with Scotland, with a high number of them providing direct routes year-round, aiding deseasonal spread. And that's via air, ferry and rail. There is increased demand for sustainable transport when travelling to Scotland, as well as within the country. Rail to destination is becoming increasingly popular. A high percentage of Europeans are repeat visitors. On average, about 50% from Europe compared to 39% from long haul. Europeans in general love to visit multiple regions of Scotland, which is encouraged by a big share of them having been here before and wanting to see something new when they come back. As the largest of the European markets, we are looking a little bit closer at Germany here. Alongside the USA, they were one of the strongest growth markets in terms of volume, and they also demonstrated strong growth in terms of holiday trips between 2023 and 2024. After the US and China, Germany is the world's largest outbound market for tourism, and it's the second largest inbound market for Scotland in both visitor numbers and spend. In 2024, 80% of all Germans took a holiday of 5 days or more, which is a record. And as we can see here, Scotland only receives 11% of Germans visiting Britain, so there is significant room for growth. Germans also consistently rate their holidays as the number 2 thing to spend money on, right after groceries, which highlights nicely how important this is to them. Their average stay is just over a week, which is above average, and they offer excellent potential for that regional and seasonal spread as they love to tour, and 57% were so impressed by Scotland that they just had to come back. Motivators for the international markets are broadly quite similar, many mentioning scenery, history and culture, and a warm welcome. One to mention here though is nature and outdoor activities. This can include hiking, e-bike, or experiences like foraging or agritourism. That scores higher than average for the Germans. They are influenced by word of mouth and will take recommendations, which is also a reason why so many of them like to use travel agencies and speak to an advisor face to face. Looking at the key trends from the German market, I've already talked about the active and outdoors angle, but Germans are also quite far on the journey to a more responsible lifestyle. It's important to them that the business has thought about sustainability. For example, that there's no single-use plastic in hotel rooms, no individually wrapped butter or jam portions, and all of that. But that also means that Germans might not necessarily see those things as especially sustainable, but rather as the norm. They're eager to see what we're doing in that regard. So do share how you're addressing your carbon footprint and delivering a responsible experience. Public transport is an important trend that we can capitalise on. The demand is rising and operators are starting to offer multiple train tours to meet that. So do let your visitors know if you're easily accessible by public transport as well. There is also a growing demand for consumption of responsible products. An angle of that is connecting with other local businesses to make the visitor experience as personal and immersive as possible. Germans and many other international visitors really want those authentic experiences. They want to meet the locals who are passionate about what they do. They want local produce, things that they can't get at home, and they're looking for experiences to engage with and give back to the local communities. So, the Germans, how do they book their holiday? They have a longer lead time than the average European visitor, starting to plan their trip about 6 months ahead of travel. And this is often longer when booking through an intermediary. I've already mentioned that the Germans rely heavily on intermediaries when it comes to holidays in Scotland. 68% of all German visitors to Scotland book all or part of their trip via a travel intermediary. And that rises to 70% when we look at the intermediary type used to book accommodation. So that's definitely an important route to market. Examples that you might already work with include Wolters Rundreisen, who we're also doing some decarbonisation work with at the minute, Der Tour, Studiosus, or Travelling Britain. What they are looking for when they're here is personal service with a smile, a high level of cleanliness, and they also appreciate language provision where possible. Value for money is very important too. Also, we would encourage you to promote your region and community together with other businesses and experiences in the area to get these visitors to slow down, stay longer, spend more, and have a meaningful experience all year round. After all, Germans often travel by car, so there's a great opportunity to highlight all that they can experience in the area. All the European markets we look after are in the top 10 of international source markets. In 2024, Italy and Denmark have seen some spectacular increase in visitor numbers. On this slide, we have included a few highlights for the different markets to take into consideration when you're targeting those visitors. The next largest market after Germany is France. They also have a strong nature and outdoors focus and are open to travel in the off-season. The route to that market is predominantly through DMCs. From Spain, we have a high proportion of first-time visitors, more looking for City Plus and classic Scotland product. And they're also booking much more last minute and via OTAs such as booking.com. We also see strong demand from Italy, especially for more high-end product, and the Netherlands, who are the most loyal of all our European markets. 4 out of 5 Dutch visitors have been to Scotland before. And of course, they have the easiest direct access via ferry or direct flight. Not to underestimate are the Nordics. Those visitors typically have higher disposable incomes, and as the numbers show, there is an opportunity to capitalise on demand. Make sure you get an understanding what the international and European visitors are looking for, and spread not only your target markets, but also your route to market to make sure you make the most of what's out there for your business. Be that social, OTAs, the traditional travel trade, or a different booking platform. In summary, working with the European markets, you can capitalize on those repeat visits, take the opportunity to cross-sell and use your product together with others in the area to push lesser-known regions, make the most of their year-round connectivity, make it an adventure to come to your business in the off-season and perhaps offer something that the guests are not able to experience in the summer. Use that momentum to slow down those visitors and make sure they visit Scotland responsibly. If you're looking at working with intermediaries, make sure your rates are ready up to 2 years in advance. You offer trade friendly rates and terms, as well as options that cater for different budgets. We do, of course, have much more information on that topic as well, which can be found on our Business Support Hub. Thank you very much for your attention.